Hello, my name is Adi Morales, and today I will be talking about the Romantics and their obsession with the Orient, a female narrative in the Middle East. Now, I chose this topic because during the Romantics there was a lot of literature emerging, and it was fascinating to know that the Orient can be misinterpreted by a translator. And a translator during this time was really significant in the way that the Western culture, viewed the Orient. So I decided to explore this topic because of that reason. Now, before I could touch on that topic, I first had to ask myself a research question, and this is what I came up with. In what ways do the French translations influence female narratives in the Middle East? Now, before I get into the good stuff, I'm just going to briefly talk about the project overview. In this presentation, I will be talking about three things. First thing, I will be exploring and analyzing a thematic analysis of Arabian Nights translated by Hussein Haddawy and exploring the theme. The second thing I will be looking at is comparative postcolonialism, critical theory analysis, and the application of the Arabian Nights translated by Antoine Galland. And thirdly, the contemporary comparative analysis with application of Persepolis. Now, before I go into the three topics, I will first summarize the Arabian Nights. So, the Arabian Nights revolves around Scheherazade, a female character. When King Scheherazade finds his wife committing adultery, he executes her. Since then, he holds a grudge against women. He believes there are no longer any chaste women in his kingdom. So, he decides to sleep with a different woman each night and then kills her the next morning. This happens until there was only a few women left in his kingdom. Now Scheherazade decides to sacrifice herself, but she has a plan. With the aid of her sister, Scheherazade manages to live another day by telling the king a story. She continues this narrative construct for 1001 nights. Now I will talk about the thematic analysis approach of the Arabian Nights. So, I explored how individuals change outcomes by using knowledge to overcome government corruption. In this case, the government is King Scheherazade, and Scheherazade uses her accumulated knowledge to challenge this corruption. Now I will explain how government corruption is demonstrated in the text by reading this quote. He continued to do this until all the girls perished. Their mothers mourned, and there arose a clamor among the father and mothers, who called the plague upon his head, complained to the Creator of the heavens, and called for help on him who hears the prayer. Haddawy 14. Now I chose this quote because it expresses the anger of the people from the kingdom. I labeled it as corruption because the king is being dishonest and his actions affect the people of his kingdom. And this also kind of demonstrates that the people can't do anything because he is the king. He is in power of everything. So his innocent killings and his position in monarchy caused this corruption. In order to combat this corruption, Scheherazade uses knowledge to resolve the conflict. She knew poetry by heart, had studied historical reports, and was acquainted with the sayings of men and maxims of sages and kings. By using these skills, she is able to construct a complex story structure, and in the end her knowledge saves the kingdom. In post-colonial theory, I am able to explore and make a comparison. According to Robert J. C. Young's Post-Colonialism, a very short introduction, Post-colonialism attempts to shift the dominant ways in which relationships between Western and non-Western people and their worlds are viewed. Along with the critical theory, I am using two critical articles. First, Al-Azhar in the Bibliographic Imagination by Dalia Kubara, and Post-Structuralism's Colonial Roots, Michel Foucault by Paul Ahluwalia. Now, the first critical article has a similarity of governmentality, and the second critical article has a similarity of colonialism to the Arabian Nights. Both similarities, I was able to construct the idea that conceptualism of governmentality in the Arabic Orient determines who governs and who is domesticated when linking social identities to the past. Kubara states, what Foucault calls elsewhere the sum of all texts that culture has kept upon its person as documents attesting to its own past, or evidence of a continuing identity, is precisely that national or civilizational self, which libraries have come to create and embody. So, I interpreted that as the self-image links to the transformations of library science throughout history and showcases the shifts of a culture which links the influence of the present when the West examines governmentality in the Arabic Orient. The second critical article of Walia states, Foucault's new form of analysis shapes the conceptualization of governmentality of who can govern and who is governed by the determination of someone else's activities. And I said, if the monarchy lacks in aiding its citizens, then citizens will create the reforms to challenge government corruption. Explored a contemporary piece, I chose the graphic novel Persepolis by Marjane Satrapi because it shows similar elements of government corruption, the female narrative, and adaptation to norms in the Arabian Nights. Persepolis is a comic which depicts Marjane Satrapi's childhood throughout adulthood, and it also displays the effects of the Iranian Revolution of not only herself but her loved ones. Marjane at one point lives in Europe and leaves Iran, but the outcast position challenges daily life decisions despite where she lives. Marjane also deals with the loss of many loved ones due to the revolution. However, she also gains a new perspective while living in another country. Comparing both Arabian Nights and Persepolis, I found that they display relationships between people and institutes, leading into a weak government, and this causes conflicts within the same community. For example, in the Arabian Nights, Shahrazad's relationship with his former wife caused irrational decisions. His anger resulted in spending a night with the daughter of a merchant or commoner every night. Similarly, in Persepolis, the Shah is overthrown because he wanted to transition into Western imperialism practices. He ignored the voice of the citizens, and his Western influences led to a weak relationship and trust with his citizens. After analyzing Arabian Nights and Persepolis, I asked myself, did my post-colonial theory still hold up with Persepolis? Yes. There are shifts in Persepolis demonstrating dominant ideals in which relationships between Western and non-Western affect her daily life. For example, where Marjane lives in Vienna, she denies her Iranian nationality by saying she is French. She even goes as far as cutting her hair, using gel, eyeliner, and pretending to smoke with her peers. Marjane has difficulties fitting in both Iranian and Austrian culture because the dominant ideas persist throughout Marjane's life and affect her daily decisions. Overall, my research led me to one significance. I found that The Middle Eastern female narrative style in Arabic literature influences contemporary literary works and demonstrates the need of re-evaluating Western ideals by exploring government practices around the world. By using the three similarities, I was able to conclude the significance, and since both had government issues, well, I thought that even in pieces written today show the struggle between man and institute. This is my works cited page, and thank you, and I hope you enjoyed my presentation.